David Glenn, part of the David Glenn Show out of the great state of North Carolina, and, of course, a new network on his YouTube channel, the Grand Central Station for David Glenn's new YouTube channel. And, of course, it's ncsportsnetwork.com. They're adding subscribers all the time. You want to get in and check that out. Well, let David tell us about it before he gets out of here. David, welcome in, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jake. Good to be with you again.
Hey, thank you so much. Two things I want to talk today. One, let's go basketball first, and then I want to talk this ACC fiasco that continues to fester over there in your part of the world. When you look at the Sweet 16, obviously Clemson's still alive in this Sweet 16. We know North Carolina State continues, to move on down the line here, and of course you got Duke in there as well. The SEC got a lot of a lot of spots. It didn't turn out well. Just Tennessee and Alabama are left, but the ACC, as far as the conference, continues to thrive into the Sweet 16.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And remember, the ACC is the most successful league in the history of the NCAA tournament, and that's not my opinion. It's the only league that's won more than two-thirds of its games historically, and I mean going all the way back to 1939. So whether you look at the long term, you look at the short term, or you look at the in-between, the ACC, not every year, but in the bigger picture, has been the number one league. And 3 of the last 8 national championships, for example, back that up with 3 different schools doing it, with Duke in 2015, UNC in 2017, and then UVA in 2019. These 4 teams, I think, are cut from different cloths. I think Duke and Carolina are capable of not only getting to the Final Four, but making a run at a national championship, whereas Clemson and especially NC State, they are certainly more underdogs because I watched the Wolfpack, Jake, lose 7 of its last 9 regular season games. It's not like they were building momentum at the end of the regular season, but since the regular season ended, of course, they went to Washington, D.C. and won 5 games in 5 days to claim the Wolfpack's first ACC title in 37 years, and now they're 2 for 2 in the NCAA tournament in the one-and-done format. So the Wolfpack is the closest thing we have, really, I think, to a Cinderella in this Sweet 16, at least seed-wise, that is the case. But Clemson's playing some really good basketball, so who knows? Maybe the ACC will have 2 or 3 teams still standing come the Elite Eight as well.
David Glenn on your radio, Wednesday edition of the program. Make sure to find him on X as well at David Glenn Show. That's David Glenn Show. And, of course, go to davidglennshow.com. All right, so Duke taking on Houston. So you would not be – you've seen Duke as much as anybody. You wouldn't be surprised if Duke knocks Houston out on Friday.
No, I understand why Houston's the favorite. They've earned that 32-4 record. They're incredibly well coached by Kelvin Sampson, a guy I've known for a long time. He's actually a North Carolina native, and I knew when he was a really young guy. They're tough. They're physical. They're one of the best defensive teams in the entire country, the Houston Cougars. Duke actually is one of the best offensive teams in the entire country. So when the Blue Devils have the ball, this is going to be elite against elite. And I think the Blue Devils, who are one of the youngest teams left in this tournament, 6 of their top 7 are freshmen and sophomores. Can the young Duke talent, Kyle Filipowski was an All-American, he's a sophomore. Jared McCain might be another NBA lottery pick. He's only a freshman guard, but he just set the Duke record with 8 three-pointers in an NCAA tournament game. Can that NBA caliber talent offensively at Duke be enough to knock out a number 1 seed in one of the best defensive teams in the country? I mean, I'd back away from the betting window on this one. They're both great teams. They're both capable of winning the whole thing. And it really comes down to whether the younger Blue Devils can match the physicality, the intensity, and the toughness of the older Cougars.
David Glenn discussing ACC Sports NCAA Tournament, Wednesday edition of the program. Make sure to find him on X, and, of course, we'll let him tell you about his new YouTube channel, his new outlet. I want you to get in there and check that out as well. All right, David, so you have always done a great job. You're an attorney. You've been doing sports talk radio for decades in that part of the world, highly involved with the ACC and in college athletics. You've told us all about this grant of rights deal better than anybody over the last several years. With what's going on with the ACC and Florida State and Clemson, and it looks like, this is a divorce that is just going to be nasty. You just one of those, you talk about your friends, wow, they're going through a divorce, and it is going to be bad. So with the way the grant of rights is, and you've explained it before, where are we at with this thing now?
Yeah, I always remind people that there's the legal aspect of a lawsuit, which of course makes common sense, right? How good do you think your legal arguments are? And some of Clemson's, by the way, are a little bit different than some of Florida State's. Those are two separate lawsuits, and the ACC has filed two countersuits. So there's 4 total lawsuits going on right now between the ACC and its own membership. But I remind folks, because it's maybe not as much common sense, that there's always a second layer to this stuff, and it's really strategic. And I think part of Clemson's strategy in filing this more recent lawsuit is attacking the ACC on more fronts. Because if there's 4 lawsuits to deal with, that's more attorney's fees for the ACC. That's one more reason for ACC officials, not anytime soon, but down the road, I call it lawyer fatigue. I am a lawyer, and I get tired of paying lawyers sometimes when the money is enough, right? So that's one possible incentive to settle. Let's double the number of lawsuits that the ACC has to deal with. But again, as with Florida State, some of these legal arguments are intriguing and could minimize. There's not going to be a zero exit fee, I can promise you that. Some Florida State and Clemson fans are delusional about some kind of magical side door or legal loophole that's going to make all this stuff go away. The real argument is, do you have to pay $400 to $500 million to leave? Meaning between the exit fee and the value of your media rights, or are you going to negotiate a settlement down to, who knows, $100 million to leave, which is a lot of money, but it's very manageable. If you get an invitation from a wealthier conference, you can make up that money in a relatively short period of time. So it's hard to summarize, what the good legal arguments are, in my opinion, or what the roll your eyes ridiculous legal arguments are. But both the Seminoles and the Tigers have intriguing legal arguments that if a judge agrees with them, that would give the ACC reason to be nervous and maybe reason to negotiate a settlement far less than the $400 or $500 million that at least the contracts right now say would be the value of what those two schools would either be paying to leave or leaving behind in the form of their media rights all the way through 2036.
David, before we let you go, tell us about ncsportsnetwork.com, what you guys got going on your new platform, and how people can find it.
Yes, thanks, Jake. That's the Grand Central station right there, the website you mentioned. I think we've added 2,000 YouTube subscribers this month alone with our March Madness coverage, which is just incredible. Our channel's been around for less than a year. I've been doing all that other stuff for a long, long time, decades, as you mentioned. But the YouTube channel is new. So you truly go to ncsportsnetwork.com, click the word watch, and it takes you right to our video content. If you click the word listen, it's our on-demand audio. And if you click the word read, it's my old-fashioned articles. But that is our starting point, and we thank you and our friends all over the country for helping us attract people to that new YouTube channel and that new website, ncsportsnetwork.com. It's a huge part of what we do.
Make sure to check him out on the new website. Check him out on X as well, at David Glenn Show. David, I appreciate your time. Enjoy the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, sir. We'll catch up and talk to you soon.
Right back at you, Jake. Always good to be with you.
Thanks so much. David Glenn on your radio, brought to you by Cowboy Maloney's, and we are brought to you by Ashley Howie, Cry Like Realtors, 769-226-3782, facebook.com/Ashley Howie Realtor if you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate. Back in a bit.